Hi, welcome to the season finale of Mappy Hour, the show where 2.5 cartographers talk about maps. We talk to some amazing guests, and then we try to figure out what's going on inside John Nelson's head. Today, my name's Nathan Shepherd, and I'm here with Edie Punt.
Hello, I'm Edie Punt, and yeah, it's been so fun. I've been really happy to hang out with all our fun cartography friends this week.
And we have Ken as well.
Happy and Mappy, right?
Happy and Mappy.
Happy.
Happy and
And
Mappy.
I'm delighted we've been given 4.5 hours for this final episode. So
4 3/4.
okay, just a little bit extra. This is going to be great. We're going to have fun. But we've got a lot to pack in, as always. So we're going to start off with looking at a couple of maps from the map gallery again.
All right, first up, we've got the Mackenzie River Basin by Ian Ladd. Bring that one up. It's a simplistic, minimalistic, clear and concise kind of map. I really like, the one thing I like about this immediately is it's like looking at it from space. Just the way it's projected and turned, I feel like I'm looking at it from space. I mean, what do you think, Ken?
Yeah, I like it too, and I think you make a good point. It's, it's that spaced out kind of feeling.
Yeah.
The little decisions on this really sort of elevate the map, and I really do enjoy the way in which they've used colours. And I at first thought, well, this is just a sort of a retro colour scheme. It's just something they've come up with their own palette. Actually, it's a lot simpler than that. This is their corporate colours, and it's a great way of infusing the map with colour if you have a particular colour palette that you want to use, or you put this on your corporate website and it matches the theme. It's a wonderful way to go.
Yeah, nice. I am from Canada, as you guys know.
What?
And this is actually
that.
part of Canada that is not heavily populated. A lot of Canadians do not actually even really know much about this drainage basin. Most of our rivers go east or west into the Atlantic and Pacific. So what I like is that subtlety of showing the drainage basin where it is.
Yep.
It's not bold in your face. And also, the main parts of the drainage basin, this is a really generalized map. These are really smooth lines. We all know that rivers aren't like that, but it helps someone just understand how that basin works, because we do have the sort of 3 oceans in Canada, the ones going north.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it's a simple map. It does one thing and it does it really well.
Yeah.
And it does that same thing that we picked out on one of the maps from yesterday. The projection has been rotated a little bit from
Yep.
what you might expect to fit the...
It just looks nice too. I mean, I'd be happy to have this on my wall.
That's the best cartographic review of it. It just looks nice.
It just looks nice.
It's nice.
That's it. So that's a great map. That's our first map.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the second one?
Yeah, let's move on to map number 2. This one, just gorgeous. Large-scale restoration of public lands on the Colorado Plateau, and it is by Stephanie Smith from the Grand Canyon Trust. And I mean, just so subtle and nice. Like, honestly, light colors, and they're hard to work with sometimes.
Yep.
But I think this is really well executed. I think we have kind of a zoomed in version where we can see where she's worked with overlapping polygons really well. Can we go to that next graphic of the zoomed in polygons?
So I think it's just exquisite cartography.
Yeah.
That's how I describe it. And it's
Yeah.
over several sheets.
What about these?
Yeah, I picked these out as being one of the little key design features that I really like. There's several sheets and several components of the detail they wanted to show, and you don't necessarily put it all across the whole map, but these are just called out in the bottom left corner, small, subtle, next to the title, so that there's a clear sort of delineation and association, and it just works really well. And there are so many simple things like everything's left aligned on the left-hand edge of that, all the text and the graphics.
Here's the one I was talking about, where mapping overlapping polygons is pretty tricky sometimes. It's a lot of information, but this is handled really nicely with the differentiating different colors and the hatched lines. I just think it's really well executed, different outlines to the polygons.
Yeah.
Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's lovely, and there's some subtlety to the shading as well. The hill shading's a little darker in the green areas, sort of like just sort of the whole thing's faded, but the bit that you have to pay attention to, the bit inside those boundaries, is just that little bit darker and pops out really nice.
I think you were also going to make a point about the river colour as well. It's
there's like this slash of blue through the middle. Like it's all muted, and then there's this really deep blue right through the middle. Yeah. I really like it.
And my final comment on this is, I don't know whether anybody's noticed, but there's no border.
Yeah.
Right. There's no border. There's no neat line. Maps don't have to have a border, right? And in fact, land doesn't have. Well, we put borders on it, but you know, this map kind of bleeds off the edge is how we describe it, and the way in which they've subtly faded behind the detail in that bottom left-hand corner as well helps that bottom set of detail sit nicely on the page. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. This was a really nice entry.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're going to move on to another one. This one's in Australia, so I get
it looks slightly different as well. Yeah.
Well, so this is the Australian Tree Crop Map Dashboard by Craig Shepherd. I can finally say Craig, like Craig. Craig Shepherd, Joel McKechnie at the University of New England. So first of all, great surname. I love that you're in mapping.
I was going to say, did you just pick it because it's Shepherd in Australia?
Family member?
No. I have no cousin called Craig. But I do have one little bone to pick with Craig before we go any further. There's no stone fruit and apples. So I grew up in the southwest of Western Australia, right around here, and
no one lives there.
Well, there's apples there and there's stone fruit, but there's none in this map.
Okay.
But apart from that, this is just a great overview map. You zoom in to the next level. We've got this sort of mid-range, and not only do you see the symbols change to fit the zoom level that we're at, these numbers down the bottom are changing to reflect what you're looking at.
It's so cool.
So it's bright.
Yeah, I just love
colourful.
the proportional symbols that get more dense as you zoom in.
Yeah, it's attention grabbing, like most Australians I know, right? It's quite shouty.
It's a little shouty, but in a nice way.
But it works on a dashboard on a web page. That's the point. It's like the previous example we saw. It wouldn't work as a web page quite so well. This works for the medium.
Can we see that one more zoomed in level? Yeah, this one. So when you get all the way into the local level, you see where these actual crops are growing, which I think is really, really cool.
And I think what they've done well is, recognise what a multi-scale map is and should be, which is a collection of multiple separate maps, which not only work individually at their own scale, but which tie together perfectly. So you have this experience of zooming in and zooming out, which goes to different levels of detail, but it just works.
And look at that legend, like it's just sensibly done. Like instead of 0 hectares, it just says no olive groves. Like that. That's kind of.
Just need some apples, and it'd be just really, really good.
Honestly, what I also love about this is just the dark color scheme. It really works because you got these great fruity colors. Like fruity colors just. They work on a dark
fruity
background.
colours.
Yeah. It's also a really good map at showing where rain falls and doesn't fall in Australia. So all of the fruits around the outside.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the final map.
There it is.
And this is a map that I'm not even going to pronounce the title of, but you can read it. But this is by Kelly Koenig, and actually we've picked out a few of these maps across the Mappy hours, which is basically monochrome maps in one colour, maps in one sort of colour space. I just like it. I just think it's simple and effective, and maps don't have to be complicated, and
Yeah, I like the irregular cutout feel to it. The things that matter are inside that irregular cutout.
Yep, it's nice use of a vignette, simple point symbol, really simple legend.
Bold labels. I mean, you wouldn't ordinarily put labels that large on a map, but why not if they work?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So just a little shout out to that final map.
What's up next?
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to
Ask a Cartographer. All right, I'm super excited to introduce our colleague Zihan Song as our Ask a Cartographer today. Do we have Zihan here? There she is. Hi.
Hey. Hi, Zihan.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hey. So good to see you. Zihan, can you tell us a bit about yourself? You've been at Esri for a couple of years now. You want to tell us what you do here and how you got here?
Yeah, sure. I am a cartography product engineer working on the map authoring team. So same team with Edie and Ken, working on ArcGIS Pro team. And I've been on the team like about 4 years ago, and my daily job involving a lot on the ArcGIS Pro testing. I do a lot of testing our software to make sure that all the functions work as expected. And I also do a lot of UI UX designing work on the new mapping functions as well.
Yeah. I know I met you as a cartographer first, and so you've got a great sense of design as a cartographer. So how do you bring that into your work? And while you talk about that, do you have any examples of your cartographic work we can see?
Yeah, sure. We can use, well, actually, one of my favorite mapping functions that I've been working on in Pro is the bivariate colors map. The bivariate colors map, just using the colors, to show the relationship, between the two variables. And yeah, this is a map that I use with the ArcGIS Pro bivariate colors functions. This is the map. Actually, it was inspired by one of John's previous beer versus wine map, but since last year, it's kind of special 2020, so I make this, beer versus wine at home consumption.
It's making me thirsty.
I love it. Beer or wine at home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and noticeable that most of the counties are in that top right corner, so they have a lot of beer and a lot of wine. Is that basically my interpretation?
Yeah, exactly. And we can definitely see there are some counties prefer more beer than wine, and yeah, like bluish color for this one. Yeah, and I use this, red for wine and light blue color for beer for this. So I think that's just a lot of fun, making these maps in ArcGIS Pro using the functions that I helping to work on. So that's quite interesting.
So you make amazing maps, but you also make software that helps other people make amazing maps. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you balance the design of UI and UX for cartographers while also being a cartographer?
Yeah, sure. Well, that actually really question that I have been asked a lot, and also think about myself as well. Actually, we can use the legend control for bivariate colors as an example here. So as a cartographer, I definitely want, the legend control can do as much as possible. I want to have customized labels. I want to rotate the legend. I also want to, clearly to show the variable's name. So in here, to start with, I took all of this consideration, and as we see here, only the legend control for bivariate colors started with 6 options. All these different versions, they do a lot of different stuff with labels. And I know Edie must know this because this is everything behind the scene when we work on this project. Many
design meetings where, do we rotate it this way? Do we label it this way?
Yeah. Exactly. And then after we have this large scope, the fun part begins because we cannot really put everything in there. So after we have the large scope, we will usually get the feedback and review from GeoNet, from support team, and by talking to our dear user, which is all of you at user conference, to get all this feedback and ideas. And then we were working on, come up with some of the most common workflows, and also working on the functions priorities. And then we just come up with design. And as Edie mentioned, we have all this design meeting, a lot of consideration, discussion, and sometimes argument. Sometimes.
No, we never argue.
We're passionate. We care.
Yeah, and sometimes need to go back and forth for that. But the process is not easy, definitely not easy, but it's just so much fun for this. So when you open Pro, you might find a function, oh, that's easy to use, that's control is easy to find. So behind the scene, we really, took all this into consideration, and we're always trying to, put our effort and trying to make ArcGIS Pro better in here. So yeah, that is just awesome experience and interesting work I like.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, and it sounds like you and Edie and Ken are building software that you want to use and that therefore makes it easy for other cartographers to use.
Well, it's only
wonderful.
been a couple of years ago when we tried to do bivariate choroplaths, with stacked layers and, color maps and all sorts of weird stuff that would take hours. And Zihan and others have now made it, just out of the box. It's great.
Lovely.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have cartographers on the team designing.
I agree.
So cartographers designing for cartographers, for sure.
Thank you, Zihan.
Cool. Thanks,
Zihan,
Zihan.
that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, now we're going to move on to Nelson's Nuggets.
There he is.
There
There
he
he
is.
is.
Yes.
You're in this
still
light
here,
blue
you guys.
box.
You can't get rid of me. Third
What have
and
you been up to?
final nugget of knowledge. So today I picked to share with you all COVID Pulse. So COVID Pulse is a map. It's an interactive map available on Living Atlas, but it uses spark lines as its symbology. So if you don't know what spark lines, do you guys know what spark lines are?
I think we're
better
seeing
tell
it
us.
I do, but tell us.
You better tell us.
It's on screen now too, as well.
Sure.
Yeah,
Spark lines
we're
are
getting a
small.
little video, but tell us.
Spark lines are small word-sized graphics, and we just used those as the map symbol. And this was all made in the JavaScript API, and it was developed by my frequent collaborator and good friend, Zihan Song. And he does a great job just implementing these wonderful things. It's using the cartographic information model behind the scenes and just rendering a historic plot for rates of COVID. I mean, early on, we just made this for ourselves because we were curious. We were seeing maps of how it was now. But if you've got 100 cases in a county, that's a very different situation if the case rate looks like this versus if it looks like this. And so it was really important to show trend. And we were pretty happy with the result. And it's my wife's favorite resource for checking rates of COVID in our area. So.
It's great as a comparative resource. You can look at, one place to another and look at the graph as it changes. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a very efficient symbol form. But you've used another one, right?
I was going to say, you've used it on other data sets though, right?
Yeah.
The spark
Why
lines
build one when you
concept.
can build two for twice the price? No,
Exactly.
it's a very straightforward process to take the work that went into that first map and just reskin it and reapply a new set of data to it, and it breathes new life with a new phenomenon. In this case, it's unemployment pulse, another kind of a downer topic. One day we'll have a pulse that's optimistic, but one bit of optimism is you can see in these trends that unemployment is headed way, way down because of those early days of the outbreak. We were really in a tough spot. You can show a couple different versions of this. You can see like a total rate of unemployment. You can show a rate deviating from the national level. And the nugget there is you can show immense amount of data really compactly and pretty efficiently. Just kind of think of it differently.
Yeah, the little mini charts scattered across the map.
Mini charts.
What
all
about
over
the
place.
base
Bring
map?
them on.
Yeah. Yeah.
John, what about the base map? Well, it's so different for each map.
Yeah. Well, in both instances, the base map is very minimal and muted because for a thematic map, the base map is really there just to provide a little bit of geographic context and then some support the phenomenon. In that case, it's the spark lines. And so I wanted them to be very pushed back and recede. For COVID Pulse, it's this tan kind of neutral color. I didn't want it to look too, threatening or scary, just kind of a peaceful status base map. And for Unemployment Pulse, we went with a similarly basic base map, but this one is darker so that the unemployment lines could be very bright and dance on top of that base map. And it's using blend modes. Blend modes, maybe my favorite.
They're the best thing.
Don't
Pro
start
right now.
singing, man.
They work in 3D too. Did you know that, John? Have you used blend modes in 3D? They're awesome.
Yes, I have. I have used blend modes in 3D. If you can use a blend mode somewhere, I've used it.
John, I'm going to need to sort of, send you a $10 bill or something because you've set this up for a perfect plug. Because I too have made a sparkline map.
Oh,
I've made a map which I'm going to call Election Sparklines in a forthcoming book called Thematic Mapping.
Oh,
Great
plug.
book.
Plug.
Shameless.
A book. Did you see how I just segued that in?
That was
perfect.
really subtle.
You might even say devious.
Maybe a little bit devious, but I promised somebody I would talk about it. So there we go. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, check out.
Thanks, John.
Hey, John, that was great.
Yeah,
thanks for your nuggets of Nelson.
Have a great rest of your conference, and thanks for joining us every day.
Back to Cartographic Curiosities, I would like to introduce Madhura Phaterpekar.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Well done, Edie.
I practiced that, and I didn't really do it very well. So, Madhura, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi again. My name is Madhura.
Yeah, you better say your last name.
Phaterpekar, and Edie did a fantastic job. I don't know why she's so conscious, but no, Madhura Phaterpekar. I'm a product manager at Esri. I work on the ArcGIS Maps for Adobe Creative Cloud product. Some of you may have heard from my colleague yesterday, Sarah Bell. So yeah, as a product manager, I get to work with these wonderful organizations and collaborative teams where they're looking to extend their GIS to business operations and teams that use Adobe products for making maps or map designs. Yeah, that's me.
But you're also interested in like the world around us and the strange things you can see on the planet. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you probably heard me talk about a Chrome extension that I really love. This is almost like a conference tradition. Early on, I was fascinated, and I've always taken earth sciences and environmental sciences very passionately, and I feel very strongly about it. So a few years ago, when I discovered this Google Chrome extension called the Worldview Map, it's developed by Esri UK, the Maps Lab team there, I was very excited. The fun part about it is you can install it in your Chrome, and anytime you use Chrome to send an email or what have you, anytime you open a new tab or you start a new window, it loads this unique place of the world that you can look at and be fascinated by. It's just sort of helped me discover these really striking images around the world that tell such wonderful stories about our planet. Like a guitar forest that's in Argentina, it's a love story. Or the aircraft boneyard in Tucson, which is this neatly arranged image of airplanes and aircraft parts, which is used for inventory. It's just unique and fun. Personally, I really enjoy it, and I use it to make a long travel list, which I hope to get to someday.
And I think we've got an example from Greenland. Did you want to just say something about that?
I mean, just look at it, right? Like, it's so fascinating where you can look at how perhaps it tells an impact of what we're doing to our planet, where the ice is kind of getting shattered into the rest of the water over there. It's just fascinating, and a glance at our planet.
It makes you want to log into your laptop every day to see what am I going to see today. That's right. Excellent. I should install that. You're also interested in the way that cartographers hide things in maps, I believe.
I guess, yeah. I mean, there's something really fun about discovering hidden things. So I learned about this thing called map traps, and it's also called Easter eggs, where cartographers make really like harmless alterations to the map. Maybe it's a slight bend in the road or an extra label, and it was primarily used for copyright protection. So if somebody duplicated it, you could track it down and do what you had to. But the practice is slowly diminishing for copyright protection, but some people still do it for fun. And my favorite example is one on this graphic here, the 1981 Swiss topo map, where the cartographer used a hatch shadow and a lake to tuck in a spider in the slope of a mountain. It's really fun. And there's some other fun examples too, like Ken's map. Should we have a drum roll for this, Ken?
It doesn't deserve a drum roll, but I do very much like putting Easter eggs in my maps. In fact, I don't think there's a map I haven't put an Easter egg in. So this was a map of Mars I did a couple of years ago. And people say, why did you make a map of Mars? And the answer was because I just wanted to recognize the passing of David Bowie. So it gave me an opportunity to put David Bowie into a map of Mars. Why not? It was fun.
I had fun hunting that one, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's not easy to find, is it?
Nope.
But that's what an Easter egg should be. And then I also did one on the moon globe, last year, which was kind of fun too. And you can play around with other musical references. So, maybe we'll go to the far side of the moon. And what would you put on the far side of the moon? What would you expect to find? You might expect to find a reference to the dark side of the moon. Mm-hmm. Just for fun, why not? Because if you can put it on the map, why don't you put it on the map?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a rule for how long it takes to put an Easter egg in? It should not take longer than the entire map. Right?
Actually, they do tend to take a lot longer than putting a lot of the more sensible detail on the map, but they're fun.
It's more of a rule of thumb.
I'm so pleased to have found somebody else who really enjoys these kind of things on maps.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So much fun.
Hey, Madhura, before we let you go, this has been super fun, but we've been trying to gather advice from a lot of the guests we've been talking to about just how can people get started in cartography? What kind of advice do you have for somebody who's interested in this stuff but feels they want to go a step further?
Yeah.
Any
Right.
good advice for them?
Sure. I mean, honestly, if I think about it, right, I think there is no better time to think about cartography as a subject to study, or obviously it has to be something you're interested in. But just look at how much spatial awareness exists today, and I think that's just a great reminder that perhaps in a few years from now, we might have a positive pulse map of how many new cartographers are coming out into the world.
Great idea. Yeah.
I love it.
I feel like
Sparkline.
my journey into cartography it came in through an engineering pathway. So I would advise be open, right? If this is something that you're interested in, use what you're doing, use what you're learning to channel your interest into cartography, data visualization, spatial science, what have you. And personally, for me, I just like John was giving an example of how he collaborated with someone. I enjoy working in a collaborative mode, and I find that something that really elevates my way of thinking technically and also communicating, which is really an essential skill in the complex workplace environment that we all work in today.
Yeah,
That's
great.
Thank you. Great advice. Great advice.
That was really
Thanks
good
a lot,
advice.
Madhura.
Madhura, thanks so much. It was great to talk to you today.
Bye.
It was fun being here. Bye.
Bye.
Got one last section. Final tips. All right, who's going first?
I think you've got first.
I got first.
I believe
okay,
so.
I got first.
Who's on first?
All right. My final tip is to iterate. I think we saw it with Zihan talking about the design work she does. We've seen it with some of the really creative maps from the map gallery this week. Just try something, and even if it works well, try it a different way, and then try it a different way, and try it a different way, and then look at it upside down, and then sleep on it, and try it a different way. And you might be surprised, like your gut feeling isn't always the best way to approach your map. So just iterate. That's my final tip.
Cool.
Yeah. Keep trying until it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go next. My tip is just sort of think about the delivery mechanism. It doesn't have to be a map. It can be 2D or 3D. It can be a map series. It can be a story map. There's lots of different opportunities to get your work out there in different ways. Maybe just a video is a right way to go. So just think about getting it out any way you like. Ken?
Did you just say it doesn't have to be a map?
It does not have to be a map.
Well, we're going to have a conversation, aren't we? Okay, so I'll finish up. My top tip is be prepared to put your map out for public scrutiny, okay? And that doesn't mean, just put it on the internet. That's not necessarily the best place to put things, but ask your colleagues, ask your friends, does this map actually work the way in which it's intended to work? And listen to feedback. Now, in cartography, that we sometimes call this critique, right? People are giving critique about the map, not the map maker, but the map. And that can be both positive and sometimes negative. And I know that because somebody around here quite often trashes my maps.
Stop looking
You're a hard
at me.
But it's good because I go back to my office and I look at the map and I go, you know what? Edie was right. And being able to disassociate yourself from that map, take on information, take on comments, deep breath, and reapply them to the map, I think is a really, really excellent skill to learn as a cartographer.
That's a huge point.
Yeah.
It's about the map. It's not about the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do have, well, it's not really a tip, really, but we've had a lot of really good positive feedback to Mappy Hour. We've thoroughly enjoyed doing it. It's been an absolute blast, and these guys have been great to work with. But I do want to thank the at least 20 people in my line of sight right now who've put all this stuff together, because whether it's makeup, cameras, producers, directors, they kind of make us look semi-professional, which is
because we don't really know what we're doing.
No, this isn't our wheelhouse. We kind of stump up and do our best. But,
yeah, the crew has been really great.
On behalf of us, I want to thank the entire crew as well.